Yeah. Yeah. My name is Randall Callanan, and I'm a civil rights lawyer, and I'm here today with James Ybarra, who was falsely convicted by Gerald Goines, the architect of the Harding Street raid, which ended in the murder of the Tuttles. And he has filed a federal lawsuit because he recently, just weeks ago, got his conviction overturned because the court, the highest criminal court in Texas, a very conservative court, believed that Goines lied. Goines was the main person who provided the evidence for his conviction. He fought it for a year and a half. He spent $10,000. But one thing is he lost his job because of the pending charges for methamphetamine possession. So he lost his job. And then he was late for trial one day, or excuse me, late for court one day, and so they put him in jail. And with Gerald Goines ready to testify and tried to put him away for many years, having run out of money, they offered him, if you take this guilty plea, we will let you out today, out of this jail. You can go home and take care of your wife, your mother, who's bedridden, who's partially paralyzed, or we'll leave you in that jail because he cannot bond out. He has no money anymore. And we'll come back later for the trial where you might get 5 or so years. So based on the advice of his lawyer, having no money, and his mother and others depending upon him to care for her, he took the plea bargain. He got out that day, but he was convicted. Felony, the only felony conviction that he has had. And since then, he has suffered immensely because he cannot get a good job. You cannot get a good job with a felony methamphetamine conviction. Now, he's not the only one. The highest Texas court, criminal court, has decided that 15 other cases of Goines need to be overturned because he planted evidence, lied in court, lied on affidavits. 16. It's hard to get one overturn of a felony conviction. This has resulted in 16, and that's so far. There were 3 individuals who likely would have had their cases overturned as well, but they have died. And they will never get justice. They will never see their vindication because a dead person cannot go to the Court of Criminal Appeals and try to get their case overturned. That's what the law says. So we're here today about the other victims of Gerald Goines. The Tuttles were killed, but there are other victims who have suffered greatly. And this is the very first lawsuit, the very first civil lawsuit that is being filed to try to get some compensation for what James went through, this horror show that others have gone through as well. But this is not just about Goines. The city wants to point at Goines and said, oh, we didn't do anything bad. It was that guy over there. They put up with this. There was a bunch of policies that they could have implemented, but they allowed these narcotics divisions and Gerald Goines to run wild, do whatever they wanted. They're being accused of stealing money, stealing property, and it wasn't just Gerald Goines who went along with getting people convicted who were totally innocent. It was other officers. And that's why the city itself is liable, because they're responsible too. You just can't blame one individual, one bad apple, and say, oh, there's the guy. Everybody else is innocent. He did it all. No. We can show a practice, a policy and a practice of doing the same to many people. And there's many policies they could have implemented, like having body cameras at these raids. If there was a body camera, then they wouldn't be there planting the drugs on him, or nearby. That's how they did this case. They planted the drugs nearby. If you remember the Harding Street raid, one of the officers had some heroin in his car for some reason. Well, if you remember, the Tuttles were accused of selling heroin before they were shot and they were murdered by Goines, and that was probably going to be the throwdown. Evidence was the heroin. Same as here. They had some methamphetamine and they threw it down, and then they blamed him for it to get another conviction. So we're here today to tell the other individuals that they can do something about this. And if there's any other individuals out there who have been convicted on the word of Gerald Goines, or maybe even some of these other people who have been charged with crimes from the narcotics divisions of the Houston Police Department, then maybe you can get your case overturned. Because this is one of the worst travesties of justice probably ever in the history of HPD, and this ranks up there in the last few decades with the worst travesties in the United States. People dead, dozens in prisons, lives ruined over and over for 10, 20 years. The city is to blame, not just Gerald Goines. Next we'll hear from Cynthia Cole.
Well, good morning. My name is Cynthia Cole. I'm the Executive Director for a union, the American Federation of State County Municipal Employees, Local 1550. But I'm also an activist, and I want you all to understand why I am here. I represent employees who work in the medical field. And can you imagine how quickly your life changes if you are accused of being anywhere around, associated with any illegal anything that has to do with drugs, medication, chemicals? James had a really good job working in the medical field. He will never, even if it's been overturned, he will never have that opportunity to rebuild his career because it was a conviction. And although now that the conviction is over with, trust and know that most medical environments, most clinics, most anything that has to deal with medication and the care for anybody is not going to say, yeah, you know, we understand it was overturned, you were innocent, but you were still convicted. So it has ruined his life. This man will not be able to rebuild in the career in which he studied for. He was in an environment, getting a haircut, in less than a second, there's a raid, and he's in jail. Then he spends all of his money, he can't afford to fight anymore, it's a bigger mountain to climb. Now he has to go ahead and plead out. He pleads out, it gets overturned some years later, and his life is still in a shambles. So the message as an advocate for the community that I put out there is, yes, there are bad apples. There is a tough fight, but you can't give up. This man didn't give up. He will have to rebuild his life, but he didn't give up. Is everybody guilty? Is everybody innocent? We used to go by innocent until proven guilty. Then when somebody plants something on you, you're guilty. And now you got to go and prove that that person was a bad apple. I strongly encourage anyone who genuinely feels that they were in that particular circumstance or situation, fight it. Rebuild your life. There is hope. And he represents that it can come true.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next we'll hear from Jeff Reese.
All right. Save the best for last, or they're dragging the bottom of the barrel. I do apologize, but my name is Jeff Reese. I'm a current member of the Greater Coalition for Justice with Johnny Mata and this young man right here. I'm past president of the Houston Peace and Justice Center, but before all that, I was with the Harris County Sheriff's Office for almost 26 years. And I can't tell you how many cases I've seen like this. And I felt it was my duty to come out and say something, because being a Caucasian and being a police officer, I thought, well, maybe they'd listen to me, but no, they won't. And probably they won't even listen to anybody right now. The problem with the system is, and you see these back the badge, I love the blue, but they don't stop to see what's behind that. Most people don't accept something that they haven't experienced themselves. Most people have not gone to jail, and they should be very grateful they haven't, because it's a whole different world. Right now we're in a contested race for who's going to be the sheriff for the next 4 years. And unfortunately, what happened to him, it happened to many people, but no one would ever accept it. But now we know, because of Gerald Goines and what he did, that it actually can happen, and it does happen. Hi Boy and I went door to door on the Harding Street drug raid, and we knocked on all the doors, and half the people had their cell phones taken from the Houston Police Department in order to study what had happened, I'm sure. Strangely enough, they never got their cell phones back. at the time, there was a young man who got on the airwaves and made a statement about he was tired of all these thugs and all these activists, and that he had their phone number and all their number, and he was going to go after them because of what travesty had happened at the Harding Street drug raid was all due to the activists and not the police. And there was a certain police chief who actually said what heroes these guys were. But nobody could question them because they were dead along with their dog, unfortunately. So anytime I'll be there to say what I can say and help in any way possible. You know, I was there, I worked there 26 years. I can tell you what happened to him actually happened to him. Not because I was there, not because I witnessed it, but because I've seen similar cases like that over the years. So I'm going to end it here. If you have any questions, you know, I'll be over here. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, James, be careful once you come over here. Maybe you want to take your mask off if you can.
I would like to say thank you for everybody for showing up. Thank you for Mr. Randall for taking this case. Thank my wife, Crystal Valerio, for being here. There's not much I would like to say other than thank you very much for believing in me. And it's been almost 10 years that all this started. But I will say this, that he has ruined a lot of people's lives, and his day will come in court. And thank you for all of your justice and your support.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions that y'all have?
I had a question for Mr. James.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
But since there's ongoing litigation, we can't get into the facts. But if you want to talk about something else, that's fine.
If you could just talk about what life has been like for the last 10 years and getting to this point.
Yes, ma'am. It's been a struggle. It's been emotional. It's been tiring. Did anybody believe me? I'm a veteran of Desert Storm. I never was treated like this. I didn't think I was ever going to be treated like this. I tried to tell these officers that I'm like brotherhood with them, but they didn't want to hear it. It's us against them mentality, and it shouldn't be like that. But it has been devastating. But I am getting by now that I've been dismissed with this case.
Do you have any employment right now?
No, ma'am. Now that I have no felony on my record, my next step is to look for better employment and to get my life back on track again.
What kind of work did you do in the medical field?
I was a care provider. I was taking care of my mother, who was bedridden. She had 6 strokes in 2010, and I did my best to look after her before she passed away in 2015, January.
Do you feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you?
Yes, ma'am, I do feel now that Mr. Randall has stepped up to help take this case. I know there's others out there, and I'd like for y'all to come forward if you feel like you have a case. Especially with Gerald Goines. He plays the quiet card, but he's not so quiet. He wasn't so quiet that day. He was a monster.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wanted to point out that the Harris County Public Defender's Office brought forward these petitions for habeas corpus on behalf of people who they thought were unjustly convicted, and they're the ones who brought the case to the highest criminal court in the land to get in Texas to get the cases overturned. So if somebody is out there who believes that they were done wrong by Gerald Goines, or maybe even some of the other individuals in the narcotics unit, they can go to also the Harris County Public Defender's Office and see if they will look into the matter for them. Any more questions? Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Randall, actually,
Yeah.
do you want to say anything about the ongoing criminal and civil case against Goines? Anything about the status of it? I know it got transferred to a new court.
It did?
Yeah, because of Judge Aguilar's suspension.
Oh, you're talking about the criminal case.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought you wanted to talk
Yeah, I
about
don't know
that.
really I haven't been following that too much, other than I know that, like you said, Judge Aguilar was suspended, I believe, by the Judicial Commission on Judicial Conduct, and so that's been assigned to another judge, and hopefully that'll speed things up, is what they're hoping. All right, well, thank you so much.